Peace and love, peace and love. Good day to you all. Today I will be discussing and elaborating on the component, the embroidery needles. Please watch the full video as I go in depth as to which needle to use for which fabric. Starting with our most commonly used needles worldwide. Size 7511, as you can see, size 7511. The difference between the two, one is ballpoint, one is sharp. The ballpoint allows you to embroider through knitted material, such as this. Any material made up of yarn is knitted material. That's where you use the ballpoint. Whereas the sharp, and no, it does not say sharp or S, but most of the time it's just going to be listed 7511, which tells you that it is sharp. And if it has BP at the end, then you know it is ballpoint. So again, with the sharp needle, allows you to embroider through material that isn't knitted, such as denim. Or perhaps canvas. Aside from our most commonly used needles, size 7511, ballpoint or sharp, there are needles out there that they cater to the type of fabric you may be looking for. Example given. This denim fabric. Yes, I used our most commonly used needle, 7511, sharp, on this denim fabric to create this design. However, they do have denim needles out there. This canvas material behind me, I used the 7511 sharp needle to create the portrait. However, they do have canvas needles out there. The purpose of saying that is, and bringing it to light, is you may be an individual that don't want to rely on your most commonly used needles, as I do. You may want that needle specified for that type of garment, which is all right. All you have to do is just look up on Google, I'm sure Walmart, your local thrift shop, or even Amazon.com may have that specific type of needle. These universal needles here allows you to embroider on a larger scale type of fabric without having to change the needle. Example given. Embroidering on this denim fabric. I know I either have to have one, the 7511 sharp needle, or my denim needle. Or let's say I'm out of all of those needles and I still have my universal needle. This will work well. Using the same example needle, if I wanted to embroider on this polyester material, and I ran out of my ballpoint needle, 7511, I can use my universal needles to embroider on this polyester material. Overall, there are many different size needles for a wide ranges of fabric. As you can see with the attached file, we have 4 different columns: American size, European size, fabric weight, and fabric types, alongside several different columns, which is equated to the needle size. Let's focus on the first 2 rows, American size and European size. When shopping or searching for the correct size needle, to use for your embroidery project. It will either be listed in the American size or in the European size, or perhaps listed together. European size normally leads first, following the American size. Example given. Let's go down to the most commonly used needle. American size 11 and European size 75, as they both are equated. When searching online or shopping for your needles anywhere, again, it'll be listed 11, which is American size, or 75, which is European size, or again, together, 75/11. The fabric type and fabric weight that are in comparison to this most commonly used needle, 7511, are cotton, specific types of silk, spandex, synthetics, and lycra. All in all, when choosing or searching for the size needle in comparison to the fabric you're trying to use, understand the smallest American size in comparison to the European size will be 60/8, as the largest American size in comparison to the European size will be 120/20. Again, European leading first, American size following. In connection, while choosing your embroidery needle, you have to be aware of two things. One, yes, the type of fabric of which you are trying to embroider on, which will determine the sized needle. And two, the type of thread will also determine the sized needle that you'll be using to embroider. Give you an example, and before I push forward, I'll be creating a separate visual content regarding the different types of embroidery thread. Pushing forward to the example. The example here on my shirt. GOTT, my logo. EEM. The logo, of course, in replacement of the H. Godding. Okay? Knowing that this is an knitted material first and foremost, I know that I have to pick up my ballpoint needle. Okay? Initially, when doing this design, the first time, I picked up my 7511 ballpoint needle, and I used it, though, with my special thread, okay? And while these were conjoint and it was using, I was seeing a lot of shredding happening to this special glow-in-the-dark thread. To make clear, our commonly used thread are 100% polyester 40 weighted thread. Most of all special thread will be a different size and diameter compared to our polyester, 100% polyester thread, 40 weighted. In the beginning, I did not know that, all right? So using this with our ballpoint 7511 needle, I saw that this was shredding a whole lot. I did not understand why, up until I changed the needle, right, to a 9014 universal needle. Okay, this could have been a 9014 ballpoint needle and it still would have worked. Okay, but since I do not have a 9014 ballpoint, my 9014 universal needle worked well. Now you're probably asking yourself, how and why did this special thread not work with our commonly used 7511 thread? That is simply because, as explained, our special thread, embroidery special thread, the diameter of it is much larger, which means the needle for it has to be much larger. Hence, the reason why it was used perfectly, perfectly using this universal 90-14 compared to the 75-11. So let me just take the American size, right? 11 being our most commonly used, and 14 not our most commonly used. Those two numbers put together, 11 and 14. When you see it, when you hear it, when you know it, you know that 14 is much larger than 11. It's the same thing with the embroidery needles. No matter if we're using the American standpoint or the European standpoint. 75 here and 90 here. Again, when you hear 90, when you hear 75, you know that 90 is much larger than 75. And when I say larger, I mean larger in the eye of the needle. Okay? So the eye is where the thread passes through the needle hole. Okay? So this example given is the 75-11 with our polyester, most commonly used polyester thread, whereas this just may be the 90-14 to be able to suit our special thread and embroider properly. Okay, again, this was just examples. Showing the actual needle point is quite hard with the video. You know, you may not be able to see the needle points here at all. That's why I use my hands as examples, okay? So when you look at the thread and see the different sizes, if it says a size larger than our most commonly size, whether in the American standpoint or the European standpoint, you understand that that eye, the shaft of that needle is much larger. Vice versa, if you see a needle with the size less than 75-11, you know that the eye or the shaft of that needle hole is much smaller than our most commonly used needle. Using these four materials here on the table as an example, as a basis to embroider on, I have to first determine which needle to use. So, starting in the back, these two sweaters here, I know that the sweaters are knitted material. So since they are knitted material, I go to my ballpoint, 75-11, most commonly used needle. Again, ballpoint though, in order to complete this project. Moving ahead with these two objects, the dad hat as well as this denim fabric. I know and I understand that these two garments and fabrics are not knitted material. So within the machine itself, I have to change my ballpoint needles to my sharp point 75-11 needle in order to complete my embroidery project. Now, using the example given, I used our most commonly used embroidery thread, 40 weighted 100% polyester thread. As the example given earlier, I used the special thread. When using special thread, that will enable you to have to change your 75-11 commonly used needles to a more larger needle eye, such as this universal ballpoint 90-14 needle. All in all, in order for you to choose your correct size embroidery thread, please continue to be aware of the two most important factors. One, the fabric you intend to use while embroidering will determine the size of your needle or type of your needle. And two, the type of thread used to embroider will determine the size of your needle. Thank you for coming this far and watching the video. I hope that I was able to answer your question regarding the different types of needles, how to choose your needles properly. If not, please do not hesitate to leave your questions within the comments below. Like the video and share it to your fellow mates. If there's any suggested video you'd like for me to make pertaining to embroidery, the materials, or the software, please do not hesitate to leave it within the comments of this video. I'll be sure to respond to all comments and all suggested videos. Like it, share it, and subscribe. Be sure to watch all of my other videos as they may answer your unanswered questions. Be well.